a new glyph called Jotun's Cunning. Talk to me about what this new glyph for Jotun's is going to do.
Lermy, you're the Jotun's Cunning abuser
Yes,
in the
that's
playtest.
true.
Yeah,
All right,
this is the
so
one.
Jotun's Cunning is really about those characters that love to blow a lot of abilities and reset their cooldown slots. So I'm thinking your Thanatoses, your Tsukiyomis, characters like that who will be using abilities very frequently and trying to get that reset off a lot. So what you have to do to activate this guy, use a bunch of abilities, and then at the next non-ultimate ability that damages, you will get 2 seconds. Or what is it, 25%?
25% instantly, yep.
Yeah, we messed around with those numbers a little bit, but you know, some playtests may have skewed it a little bit more than others, but
Lermy
you know.
dropped like 80k damage
Oh
on a
my
Tsukiyomi
goodness.
game.
Rod has a new glyph called Perfect Rod of Tehuti.
Yeah,
Aggro, you're our resident mid laner. Talk to me about Rod.
Yeah, perfected Rod of Tehuti. Maybe we should have gone with the old Rod of Tehuti passive because that really was the perfect Rod of Tehuti, but it had its own set of problems. That's why we didn't. No, perfected Rod of Tehuti, talking about those archetypes that didn't really have that at-home glyph. This was really designed for Merlin, Raijin, these gods that aren't going to necessarily guarantee their own calamitous proc and didn't want that attack speed, but are going to be able to hit multiple abilities on the same target fairly quickly. So the idea is you want to try and mark someone with an ability. The mark's not going to last very long, but if you hit them with another ability while they're still marked, you're going to get a little bit of that cooldown back because you're expending 2 abilities to do so, and you get a little bit of movement speed. So it allows these poke mages that like to play, you know, just on the edge of the team fight, right over the wall, to get a little bit of extra utility. We're not increasing their damage outright. You know, getting your cooldowns back is damage in some ways, but it's not outright dealing more damage to you. It just makes it feel like I'm getting rewarded for doing what my combo mage is supposed to be doing, which is hitting multiple abilities in quick succession.
So for the first one, Nimble Bancroft'S Talon is inheriting that Nimble Rod of Tehuti passive, but we also have Bancroft'S Claw, which is a new glyph for Bancroft's.
Yeah, Lermy, you want to take those?
So Bancroft'S Claw is really meant for those kind of mid-range mages that like to really get in the thick of things. I'm thinking your Jonquils, your Hades, just someone that really wants to be in the thick of the fight and that often builds a little bit tankier, a little bit more lifesteal oriented.
Yep.
What this item is going to do is basically reward you for getting in the middle of things and hitting a lot of people at once. It's going to give you a shield and it's going to give you some extra damage depending on how many people that you hit.
Yeah, basically, these gods that want to get in there, you know, Hades and Jonqui, 2 perfect examples, Hebo, Aokwang, you know, these gods that have to be very close range. If they don't build enough damage, then they're not really threatening. If they don't build enough tankiness, they just die too quickly. Bancroft'S Claw kind of incentivizes you to build the damage. I know these numbers are going to be really scary. It's, you know, 1% of max HP per magical power. Basically, we recognize that if you see an RDO that's full tank with a Bancroft'S Claw and she's just getting a % HP shield for having very little power, no one's going to have a whole lot of fun with that. Yeah. So really, it looks very complicated, but it's pretty easy. Build enough damage, and when you go in, you don't even have to hit everybody around you. If you just cast abilities and people are around you, because this can stack, you know, you get 3 stacks. If I cast an ability and there's 4 gods around me, I'll proc on all 4 of them, and I only lose 1 stack.
Nice.
So it's per ability cast. And just real quickly on Nimble, Bancroft'S Talon, we felt like this is a really good spot for these magical ADCs who they were happy to get the Nimble passive. And Rod of Tehuti is good on basically every mage, but they kind of lost their bridge item a little bit. A lot of them really liked, especially our casual players, really like to go Bancroft'S Talon because of the lifesteal and power that it gives you early, but it kind of falls off late. Now, you get your Bancroft'S Talon early, you're feeling great. As soon as it starts to feel like that item's losing a little bit of effectiveness, just pop 600 gold in the bank on it, and all of a sudden, you're getting attack speed from it at the exact same time. So it's really smoothed out the power curve for some of those magical ADCs.
And one very important thing not to forget here is that Bancroft still has its original passive as well on top of that. So you are going to be getting some extra power the lower you go. So again, with that risk reward, I mean, you make those risky plays, they're about to go even harder.
Yep.
So we felt like Executioner was a really great item to choose, mostly because it had some flex potential for both hunters and hunters and junglers. There we go. And it also was just a really good bridge item as well. So again, you could get it feels really good, and then you get to the late game, you're kind of like, you know, it's fine still. But this one in particular, again, we talked a little bit about it earlier, how Jotun's Ferocity was good, but not really great on those auto attack assassins that you wanted to pick it up on. But now not only does having this glyph on the Executioner bring it to a whole new audience, it also opens it up for those auto attack assassins that could use it as well. Yeah. So this has been really, really fun to see on those auto attack characters.
Yeah, it's kind of like ADCs always wanted this effect on Jotun's Ferocity, but they didn't really want to build Jotun. Now you get this effect that feels really good, and we were really focused on making sure that ADCs had a glyph option that wasn't crit oriented.
So this was the one that I specifically got to spoil on social media, if you guys saw that. And this one is insane, you guys. So basically what this does is it takes the Executioner passive and it turns it up to 11. You basically get even more prot shred, but there's a lower cap, so it's at 2 stacks now. And also, your attack speed is capped at 1.75. So what that means is even if you buy more attack speed, you are stuck at 1.75 as long as you have this item. And so just as a quick note for you guys that are like, well, what about Silver Branch? What if I get Silver Branch with this? It's basically going to work exactly the same if you have a build that has 2.5 attack speed and you've bought Heavy Executioner. As long as your original build still gets to 2.5, you will still get those stacks from Silver Branch.
Yeah, so Magi's Cloak in general, I don't think anyone is really arguing that it's a very strong item when it's good, but it's hard to fit in the build, you know, all that kind of stuff. And there are times where, as a carry player, I really wish I could buy Magi's, but I just can't fit it. In those situations, I'm going to hope that my support or warrior or someone else is going to have the opportunity to buy Magi's Shelter. So the way Shelter works is that when your bubble gets popped, you're going to it's going to look for your nearest ally within its range, and if there's an ally in the range that doesn't already have a bubble, so they don't, you know, stack and all that kind of stuff, they're going to gain a Magi's bubble for a short amount of time. So you get to really be a little bit more defensive with your option. It's kind of like an aura Magi's in a way, but it's only going to apply to one ally near you. So, you know, this is an item that we saw probably, I'd say, this was the item that was most popular in a lot of our playtests and easiest to pick up and see a lot of success with. Sometimes you get annoyed when someone pops your bubble, right? Like you bought it to get popped. I understand that. But at the end of the day, I don't want to lose it. It looks nice, you know, I feel comfortable with
shiny.
it. Right, it's shiny. I want to get some revenge on the person who pops it. So this is really great. Shelter is very good for your defensive-oriented Guardian. Revenge, I think, is excellent on dive-oriented assassins and dive-oriented warriors who are going to be lone agents going in there, and whoever pops their bubble becomes marked for revenge, and if they are marked, then that god is going to take increased damage from all sources and give enemy gods movement speed. So basically, if they pop your bubble, you get movement speed, and so do any allies around you that are near the god that has that mark. So it really forces players to think like, do I even want to pop
I really
this
want to
bubble?
do this right now? Yeah.
Can you do it? Because I don't want to do it.
Let's get past the tier 1 and tier 2s really quick and talk about the spice.
Yeah.
So the tier 1 is going to be mystical earrings. It's 400 gold, and the stat is just plus 15 MP5. That's your tier 1.
Yep, just like Arthurian items, the tier 1, pretty inefficient. This is a different route. That was very expensive for kind of a luxury stat. This is very inexpensive for a non-luxury stat. The way, you know, items have to all have the same stat that they're building off of from their previous child items, so we wanted to get something that is applicable to all of these, but this is not intended to be a particularly great pickup.
Cool. All right, next up, the tier 2 is going to be Gleaming Ear Cuffs, and it's going to build into the first tier 3 that we talk about, but it's just got some base stats, some power, both physical and magical, plus attack speed and MP5.
Yeah, I think we can just kind of go through all these tier 2s real quick, because none of them are going to have any passives, just trying to get you to those really spicy
Cool, let's do it. So the tier 2 Jewel Studs is going to build into Sphinx's Bauble, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Again, physical and magical power, but cooldown reduction and reduction on MP5 here.
Yep.
The other tier 2 is going to be Rose Spike Earrings. It's going to build into Manicore Spike or Fabless Hoops. Stats on that are going to be health, MP5, and HP5 on that. But let's talk about the tier 3s now. Let's talk about the spice.
Spice time.
First tier 3, Griffin Wing Earrings. I believe Clumsy tweeted this one out.
He did.
I'm excited about this
He was
one.
the mad scientist.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Well,
Yeah.
talk to me a little bit about what this item is going to do.
Well, I mean, you want to break the news on what's going on, or you want that to be me in an exciting way?
No, this is so cool. We've never done anything like this before with our items, and so Griffin Wing Earring basically allows you to have hit scan-esque auto attacks. So what this does is every auto attack is a projectile, or basic attack is a projectile. And so what we've done is when you buy this item, your projectile speed for your basic attacks only gets increased by 40%. So they go 40% faster. But there is a trade-off to this, like you said, mask-like. You are losing 15% of your basic attack damage, and that's on everything, basic attack.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, hitting more auto attacks, and it is much easier to hit auto attacks once you get used to the speed. is just inherently strong. So we felt like there needed to be some type of downside here, or else this would just be such a core item, because guaranteeing more autos is just good. 40% might not seem like a lot. It is basically impossible for anybody to quantify what that feels like.
Exactly.
It's fast.
It's fast.
It's fast. They're bringing the heat. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It is crazy. And what this does to the feeling and the way that you trade and that you basic attack is just, it's so much fun, and I can't wait for people to get a chance to just mess around and see what they can do. So Sphinx's Bauble, again, kind of closer to what Griffin Wing is doing, just giving you some power, cooldown reduction in MP5, and then the passive is where all the spice is, and that is that your CDR cap is going to be increased from 40% to 60%. This is not going to be reflected on your UI, to be clear, but it is working, I promise. When you press the K button on PC or bring up your ability screen on console, wherever you are, you will see that those numbers are reflected. But your ability damage output and healing output is going to be reduced because you just get more of them.
Right. So another mask-like.
Another mask-like item in that way, right.
Yeah, so this is actually on the other side of the tree from Sphinx's Bauble and Griffin Wing Earring. This is on, these next two items that we're going to talk about are pretty similar in the way that they function in terms of the way that you interact with the play space.
Yep.
But they are very different in the effects that they give you. So Manticore Spike is intended to be kind of the supporting item for characters with a lot of CC. And so what this means is you CC someone, and then Manticore Spike drops on the ground. And so when you go pick it up, it gives you damage on your next ability, and you know your teammates can pick this up as well, and they can give you and give themselves that ability to do more damage. So if you are CCing someone and the rest of the squad's following up, make sure they're picking up that spike, because if they do, they're going to be hitting hard.
Yeah. So we with the new Season 9 map, and you know the flower offerings in the first Conquest map, and now the chalices on this one, picking stuff up is just like fun.
Right.
You know, we like picking stuff up. And so Manticore Spike and Fabless Hoops are our first items that are going to generate buffs, so to speak, that are going to just drop on the ground in the midst of the team fight that you or an ally can pick up. And that was really the idea behind them. Manticore Spike is definitely designed for frontliners in a way that it's going to give whoever picks up the spike bonus damage based on the user's max HP.
Right.
So if I've got Manticore Spike and I'm Ymir, I freeze someone, and my hunter, you know, hunter brains up to the spike and picks it up, their next ability is going to deal 3% of the hunter's max HP that picked it up. But if I'm the owner of Manticore Spike and I pick it up, I get double the effect. So if I'm Ymir and I pick it up, I freeze them, you know, do my little auto cancel, pick up the spike, then I drop my 2. That 2 is going to deal 6% of my health, max health,
That's nuts.
as bonus damage to them. Yeah, Fabless Hoops are the item that is aimed at those healers a little bit more. So we decided that this drop mechanic felt very fun, and that it felt very natural to do it when you're healing your allies. So if you're walking around, you heal an ally, a flower is going to drop in between you and the target that you've healed, and whoever picks it up is going to get a shield based on their max HP. It doesn't last for a super long amount of time. This is more designed to be in combat, running around, grabbing your flowers as you can. But in a very similar way to Manticore Spike, you can do a lot of really crazy things with this. You know, right before you start a fight, you drop a raw heal, 4 allies stand in it, 4 flowers are going to spawn.
Nice.
Only one, you know, for abilities like raw heal, as soon as an ally spawns a flower, they can't on another tick until that ability's done. But then it's a game of, okay, well, this person should get the shield, this person should get the shield. That person's not doing anything. They don't need the shield.
Right.
You know, that one's for me. But it really creates these chaotic moments in these team fights where, you know, you've got someone like a Baron dropping heals in the middle of the team fight, and then your ally gets healed, and then a flower drops, and you're like, get the flower, get the flower.
Oh my gosh.
And man, we did some play tests that, I mean, literally the whole comms were just, don't forget your flower, don't forget your flower.
Oh my goodness.
And it just creates this
flowers? I need
new,
flowers.
yeah, it just creates this really new dynamic that has been a really, really fun gameplay loop.